you want me to clap? Okay. Never mind. I thought you guys were like waiting for me to clap, and I was like, all right, like no, okay, it's cool.
You had to wait. It wasn't even started.
Okay,
You're
it's
just
cool. I don't
you
care.
want to clap? Fucking go for it.
Yeah,
No, I'm over it. No.
Yeah, I want to apologize in advance for Dawn Sound. For some reason, StreamYard does not like her today.
Didn't like me yesterday either.
Yeah, this week. This week is just anti-Dawn. I don't know what to say.
Anti-Dawn.
Womp womp.
Hey, Dawn, you can do your next task though.
Okay.
If you want.
What is everyone drinking tonight? Jessica, we'll start with you.
Sorry, I was just playing with my background. I am drinking Pabst Blue Ribbon Strong. 5.9% strong beer. Tastes like a light beer, but it's strong. Sponsor me, please. It's expensive. Yeah. I'm too poor now.
Sonia, what are you drinking tonight?
Homemade sangria, and it's way too strong because I've only drunk this much and my head is spinning. But it's delicious. I found Cranger Ale. 'Tis the season. So that's going to be whatever I'm drinking for the rest of the season, the holiday season, winter, whatever, and whatever alcohol I mix it with. But it's so good. It's just wine and Cranger Ale. That's it.
I made Jell-O cups, and they have candies on top.
That's so cute.
I have like teeth, brain, and eyes, and then I have them within here too. And there's orange, green, and red.
If you're watching on our YouTube, you can actually see what she's showing us right now. It looks so fancy.
And then I have water because this is going to be sweet as hell. David had one, and he said that like the gummies have absorbed the alcohol too. And I used 3 cups of vodka in them. So they're pretty strong, yeah.
That's good amount of vodka. Yeah. I usually use rum because I don't like vodka, but
I just hear it slurping.
I know that sounds like the whole episode's going to be Daubrey's terrible mic and then her sucking ass. That's what it's going to be.
I'll just mute my
title
mic.
It Dawn sucking ass.
This episode is titled Anus Licking. It's not even licking. It's full on like sucking out the particles. It's fucking you're hungry.
You're getting a meal. That's what's happening there.
Someone's getting ready to go for surgery, and you're like, I got you. That's what it is. That's so gross.
No.
Okay, I'm gonna mute.
Yeah.
Just muted.
She's like, fuck you, bitches.
Yeah, shut up. Okay. I do want to put a disclaimer on this episode because we actually have a topic already picked out, which can, because it's talking about, the world and its many issues that we can touch on some serious topics. We do tend to make jokes. I want to let everyone know we are not making light of these topics. We are just trying to keep our mental health in check.
We laugh to keep from crying.
Yeah.
We talk about how rough it is, for unhoused people, stuff like that, people with epilepsy, other autism, lack of support, and we make jokes about them, even though these are serious topics. We just like to laugh to feel better.
Yeah. We're not laughing at these topics. We are laughing with these topics because the solution seems so ridiculously simple.
It just seems like why, and you could just laugh because it's so ridiculous. You have nothing else. There's no other response except for crying or laughing.
The world is satire at this point. So
every time you watch the news, you have to think is this actually real life? This is actually happening? And it is. It really is. And it's sad.
Yeah. Every day is a fucking Black Mirror episode.
Right.
Yeah, that's what it is. Okay, hold on.
Yeah, Sonia, you're going to kick this one off.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. This is my idea. Just because, we're going to talk about the UN 2030 agenda. which is pretty much like a world peace kind of thing, breaks it down, which that's pretty much been like UN's goal, I say loosely, since the beginning.
Yeah.
So what made me think about this? So I have to, oh my God, I'm so intoxicated. So what so it is the goals and targets will stimulate action over the next 15 years in areas of critical importance for humanity and the planet. So the people, the planet, prosperity, peace, partnership. It's a lot of P's, man. You couldn't think of other things.
Everyone
So-
loves a good alliteration.
Yeah. Okay. So, and then what brought this to my attention was somebody near Hamilton. There is a petition that the conservative government,
Lewis.
yes,
Oh, come
is
on,
backing. Yes, is backing, and it came up in a homesteading group I'm in. And the person saying, oh, you should sign this petition. She's like, oh, the sovereignty. Think of our sovereignty, our nation's sovereignty. That's why we need to leave the UN, our nation's sovereignty. So in the petition itself, it doesn't really touch base on our like sovereignty. It does touch base on the comprehensive sexuality education. So this is, if you've been paying attention, there's the Million March, which is like there should be no transgender education or safe spaces in school. A lot of people are like, that's not hateful. We should have the right. Our kids should not have these things forced upon them, which it's not. You have the right, at least in elementary schools, you have the right to sign a paper saying my kids cannot participate in your sexual education because we have different views at home.
But that doesn't even mean trans people and stuff won't come up. It just means they're not
being taught it. But what also is being said is that there's not even should be safe spaces for these kids because it just means it'll be in the face of their kids. And a lot of times when a lot of kids don't have safe spaces at home, they come to school to feel safe. And when you're transgender or queer or anything other on the rainbow of wonderfulness, being at school is the only place you can be yourself. And when you go home, you'd get abused, especially by these types of parents who are like, no, our kids can't learn these things. And no, my kids can't have safe spaces.
Well, it's like was it Manitoba that just passed the law? Or was it Saskatchewan?
No, Saskatchewan.
Saskatchewan
okay. And New Brunswick.
Saskatchewan, yeah. Where it's like you can't, the teacher can't even protect the pronouns you tell them.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's here too, New Brunswick. And Higgs, the guy of our province, is like, oh, we'll just hire more psychologists for to help kids in schools. Dude, they're like hasn't hired anybody. And people are leaving the province. There's not even enough psychologists for my kids. There's a wait list. So I don't know where he's finding. So there's been this Million March, and it's just hurtful for so many people. So what this, I'm like rambling. I'm sorry. This is a terrible time to be intoxicated.
That million people march wasn't a million people. Like Canada's only like
100
million people. You know, like it's not. It wasn't a million people. I did go to one of the counter protests against the first time it was the Million People's March. They did it again, but I wasn't in the country at that point. But the first one I did, and it was such a jarring, like I've been to protests before, I've been to rallies before, but that experience really was really emotionally hard because it was the first time you saw white evangelicals, Nazi fascists, and super religious Muslims all agreeing on one goal. Because it's like it in all other respects, like these people would not be rallying together.
No,
but they found this one common goal, and they all brought their kids and put their kids in the front line. I was arguing with a 6-year-old who was saying I was a pedophile and that I need to take off my glasses so that I can see the devil on the flag, on the rainbow flag. Like these fucking 6 and 7-year-olds, like yelling, and their parents are behind them laughing. And it was just one of the most jarring like protests I've ever been to. It's ridiculous. And then these same people will say we're the ones hurting children.
Yeah, it doesn't. They say they're trying to protect kids, but in reality, they just don't agree with views like the way people live their life. They're just bigots.
Yeah.
And they are using children as their shields. Like
As they do.
I love everyone. Here I'm going to use my child as like ammo
Pool
to
of
throw at
hate.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not me. Like, look, it's upsetting my kids. Kids do not care. Kids go
They
to school and
regurgitate
they
information from their parents. They only are taught things. Like, no one is born with empathy. You are taught empathy. They're lacking now empathy because of their parents.
yeah, it's very rare people have empathy naturally.
Mhm.
It is something that is a learned behavior.
Exactly.
And so the kids don't care. They go to school and they see Timmy has 2 dads. They don't give a shit. They're like, oh, cool. Timmy has 2 dads. That's pretty cool, Timmy. Like, my dad is always drunk and yelling at my mom, but you know, you seem happy.
It's fucking true.
Yeah, it's like because they're unhappy. They're like, well, I have to be married to this guy because God said I have to stay married, even though he beats me. Like that's still like a lot of people are stuck with being in abusive relationships because of religion.
Mhm.
So part of the UN's Agenda 3030 is to educate others about just because your religion's saying this thing, you can choose, you don't have to choose it, but you can choose to know that there's other information out there. Because there's a lot of countries run by governments and religious people, sometimes the same thing, where they're like, no, you don't get to learn this information. So the UN's like, I just want to like that's part of the world peace is education. Like what you do with the information is on you, but we want to provide information. So but the petition is like no, providing this information is bad. And so the Agenda 2030 was made in 2015. And the only reason the girly is backing this petition is because of the Million March that they're trying to like ride the waves of and hopefully get reelected for their seat because people who live in the city tend to want rights for everybody. The further away you are around people, you don't see what they're going through, so you're not going to be like, okay, maybe we should have rights for others. So like the what is that
rural areas.
Yeah, I'm like, what is that word?
The more rural areas tend to also be the less educated. They also, if they've been there for a long enough timeline, they also tend to be where lead poisoning is the highest. So it's just, these are all coincidences, of course.
Of course.
The one thing I did notice about her petition was she also talks about healthcare in it and how it's the public and private life. And it's like, I thought we were publicly funded healthcare, but good to know you threw that private in there. And
Right?
and she explicitly mentions the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, which anyone that mentions that, as well as International Planned Parenthood, they're going after the anti-vaxxers and the evangelicals right there. Like if you're putting those in your petition to be like, see, look what the UN's doing by catering to Bill Gates and his vaccines and catering to abortion, Planned Parenthood. Those are like dog whistles to pull those kinds of people. They're like, oh, the UN agrees with abortion? No way.
Oh, yes. So this has nothing to do, like, that's what I said, like, that brought it up was the person was like, the sovereignty of our nation, the sovereignty of our nation. And like, Canada still has the king. Okay. We have their political party is the head of our political party. like they won't, because then we could just like they won't be able to be like, those are my puppets, but they still can veto laws. Like technically that's all things. So we've never been a sovereign nation, but like this woman was just regurgitating the same thing over and over and over, when I was like, okay, like tell me your points, because that's not what the agenda 2030 is at all. And she's like, no, it's like our sovereign nation. I was like, go read it. Like, here's the link. And then she's like, you don't have to sign this if you don't want to. So there is so many.
That's my opinion. That's
what it is.
That's what my opinion.
That's what it is. There's absolutely, she did no like research or reading about what's happening. And she's just like regurgitating this information. And so there is over 43,000 signatures. I just want to point out, we tried to like help epilepsy get some signatures, and like it was so informative, and all we were asking was for like the bare minimum, police people to get first aid training.
A free 30-minute module online that they can watch at their leisure. We just wanted to make that mandatory. 30 minutes. They can do it on the clock. Like, they would get paid.
No, and they don't have to pay into it either. Like, it's free.
Part of their training.
It's already made. Yeah.
Already made. We're not losing money. They're not losing money. Can't make it.
I feel like if we like worded it like Justin Trudeau doesn't want this to happen, then so many people
get all the signatures.
Oh my God. Like, can we try? Can we do like a TikTok? Okay, how about we all, okay, you know what, we'll plan this after, but like if we did like a TikTok where it did you know Justin Trudeau doesn't believe in epilepsy? And like, see what happens.
Like, I feel, I don't know.
Put like a really tiny asterisk saying this is satire and hashtag satire in the post, and then we can't get sued.
Yeah, I don't want like epilepsy Southern Ontario to like lose any support they have, but like I'm sure, because
let's do it after the fundraising live stream on December 2nd from 10 a.m. to 2 a.m. We're on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. And then we'll try it. That way they can't be mad at us. We like just did a fundraiser for them.
So like the other day I looked at this, none of it had 0 signings, but now they have 10. So like somehow this misinformation made it all the way over there.
Those colonizers. It's like the 10 white people and none of them.
That's what it is, probably. Fucking white people.
Fucking settlers just up there. They're like,
oh man. Okay, so New Brunswick actually has 741. So when I first looked at this, when it was posted, it only had 300. So then it got posted into like the homesteading group. Every time, I mean, they are like the anti-government, anti-vaccines. So I was like, oh my gosh, when am I ever going to find somebody who believes in science and wants to like take care of the environment and stuff like I do? I did find somebody, but they're not in that group.
Preppers and homesteaders they're notorious for being libertarian, which means they're right-wing anarchists. You know what I mean? Like, so like anarchism tends to be more left-wing. They tend to not think a state can solve their problems, but a community, versus libertarians that think a state can't solve our problems, but I can.
Just for me.
Just me. I can solve the problems. Yeah, that's the libertarian idea. And I'm part of a prepper group in Canada. And a lot of it is libertarians where they're like, it's the end of the world. What are you gonna do? You know, kind of thing.
Science.
Like, you bring that up and they're like, they'll use science when it comes to like keeping their food or growing food or doing all this stuff. But when it comes to like science of vaccines or science of whatever, no, it says the government's lying to you. And it's like, yes, they are, but not about this.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, fuck it. Like, I think I blame the government because they've kind of ruined it. They've like gone back on their words so many times and lied so many times that like when they are speaking the truth, people who are like, well, they lied to me once, they're never going to speak the truth again. Like those people hold grudges. Okay, they clearly have autism. There's a lot of people with autism. You do them wrong once, they will never forgive you.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
It depends on what it is, though. Okay, like Justin Trudeau. I'm talking to you. Okay, talking to you.
JT, Bibi,
Mano
listen.
y mano. These two ladies know I've always been anti-JT. I've been JT's a better option than whatever conservative comes up, but I've always been anti-JT. And hey, I thought you ran on voter reform. I thought
That's the big, like right at the beginning, right?
I thought that was the thing. And
But that's not what got him the votes, though. We all know that's not what got him the votes.
Oh, that's why I voted for him.
That's why a lot of people.
No, that was one of my reasons. I voted for him because of.
I never have voted for JT.
I only voted for him once. I didn't vote for him for the recent election. I voted NDP. But like I voted for him because he wanted to extend maternity leave from 12 months to 18 months.
Which he did.
That's what I mean. Like, so like the things I voted for him for.
Bullshit deal because
I know because you get the same amount of money, but you have to stretch it out longer.
Yeah,
I know. No one knew that part though, but all we knew is we were getting an extra 6 months, and we were like, fuck yeah. So he did do it, but he kind of, fucked that up. The thing that I'm pissed off about though is he said he was going to be for Indigenous rights and cleaning up the water, and he
that was my
didn't.
next point.
Yeah.
And
there's a lot of things he.
That is what I'm pissed off at him for. Like that's my personal reason. I'm like, bro, you said over and over again you were going to clean up the Indigenous, the reserves and their water supply. You fucking did. We have so much water in our country. Okay, so much, and you can't fucking clean it?
He can't. There's contracts with Nestle.
That's what, Nestle was supposed to be kicked out of our country, and that they didn't. They changed their company name or something. It sounds like a conspiracy.
It is, but it's money
it's
laundering.
Not though. But
it's a Ponzi scheme.
I just wanted to say one recommendation just off of Dawn's because I was gonna bring that up. Seven Fallen Feathers. By Tanya Talaga. I apologize for the pronunciation. Is about 7 missing and murdered Indigenous boys in Thunder Bay, but she does a great chapter on Justin Trudeau's failings in Indigenous care since being elected, including going through a lot of the government process. They had a big tribunal thing going on. Everything like that. So highly recommend that book if you want to know more about Justin Trudeau's Indigenous fuck-ups.
Yeah.
Oh my God. One is the big one is the federal only holiday. So the government could be like, oh, it's sad what we did. So I'm going to take a paid vacation day off.
Yeah. Or land acknowledgements.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I know we took it. I know we took it.
They do that on the flights now. I'm flying from the UK, the most, Britain's pretty known for its colonization efforts by now, I'm sure.
It's number one.
Number one. I mean, it's almost it's not, it's losing it to, the USA, but, it's getting there.
They held it the longest.
They held it the longest.
History, the longest.
Good for them.
Good for them.
Flying back into Canada and they have to pop up a video about the land acknowledgements of Canada, and I'm like, but did you give them any land back?
No.
You're acknowledging, I thought that was part of court. If you acknowledge that you did a wrong, then you can
have to compensate somehow.
Yeah.
No, you just have to apologize. No, so with court, you just have to acknowledge and apologize. You don't have to give back anything. If you ask for an apology,
if
you can
you're
get
found
one.
guilty. If you apologize prior to being found guilty, they can find you guilty based on you acknowledging guilt via the apology.
Right.
Yeah, don't apologize.
But I don't think they went back to court, did they?
No.
No, but I'm saying if they're giving land acknowledgements,
I know.
That's they're apologizing.
Then we should go back to court and get them guilty.
We just fucking took this land. It's hey, UN, where were you on that? I just want to say, the last residential school. The last residential school closed in 1996. So in Canada. So hey, UN, you were alive for 50 years. Where were you?
Yeah, no, the UN will go into
Where's that base? For indigenous.
I love the like in theory. I love what the UN could be. I just think
Okay, the idea,
like,
the ideology behind it is fantastic.
we need to reset. Like we need to get rid of it, call it something else because like
Rebrand.
Wait, we
Yeah,
need to
a
rebrand the
rebranding.
UN again? Because the UN
Again,
is a rebrand.
it is, yeah. But we need to like kick everybody out. The G7, now G6 because they kicked out the United States. I don't know if they brought them back in, but like there's like the G6 summit or whatever. That should be the new UN because it's only the good countries that aren't trying to kill everybody.
But
I think,
yeah, well, sorry, I'm
I
looking
think
at
still.
the G6 is the United States, France, UK, Germany,
I thought
Japan,
that
and
they got
Italy.
kicked out.
And then the G7 was added because Canada was added.
Yeah, Canada got added in.
But I thought they kicked out the states when Trump was there. Group of 7.
No, Trump threatened to leave.
Yeah.
I don't think they kicked him out. He threatened to leave.
Technically, I don't think the United Kingdom should be in it until they give back everything that's in the British Museum. Like, I think
you mean the royal family should give up their shit? Like, that's really going to happen.
Yeah, I think it should be the bare minimum.
Yeah.
So go back to G6. But like yeah.
But even then, like now that I'm looking at the G6, 3 out of those 6 countries have veto power in the UN.
So there's
on top of Russia and China, I believe.
Yeah.
So
US,
there's only the
France,
3 with
UK, Russia, and China all have veto power in the UN.
UK and France do still? I didn't know that. I thought it was just the 3. I thought it was just US.
No,
I'm gonna look
UK
it up.
And France still, yeah. The United Nations Security Council veto power is 5 permanent members.
Yeah, okay, I see
unless
that.
they change
5.
it.
It says 5 right now. So yeah.
Yeah, so China, France, Russia, UK, and United States. Yeah.
I was misinformed. Yeah, so it is the 5.
So I do think that's funny that 3 of the G6 is also 3 out of 5 that can veto in the UN.
But they don't have veto power. Nobody in the G6, 7, whatever, has veto power.
For their things, not for UN things.
Yeah, we're getting rid of the UN. That's what I'm saying. Like,
anything the United States touches, or the UK touches, but like the US is obviously the more superpower right now. I don't trust, considering they like in the UN vote against things like
human rights.
Human rights, yeah. Like the UN was like, hey, maybe we should stop killing people for crime for a while. Like just a what's the word? Moratorium?
Yeah.
You know the word.
I know what you're saying. I hear you.
They're like, hey, we're just gonna put a pause on killing people for crime. Just a pause. And the US and China were both like, nah. That's why I always love when like US people hate China, and I'm like,
you're the same.
Yeah, I was like, do you not realize?
It's just like, and war crimes, you're doing your job. Like, so you say you're like an army person and you get drafted to go and you kill people, but that country captures you. You're now dead because they have the right to kill you. You know what I mean? Like, well, technically you went to war, so you deserve to die anyway, but I guess, that's what happens. But like, you shouldn't. Like, you were following orders and for your country that you believe in, that you said you'd die for. But that, I think there should be a hold off on like, technically, are you guilty then? Like, if your country
would say
killed
yes.
you,
I say yeah.
I would say yeah.
That's a you
Nazis
problem.
are guilty.
Like if you sign up, that's a you fucking problem.
Right? Like, and so like any American soldier that
sorry, go.
No,
you blanked out.
No. If you're talking about the draft,
no.
Oh, okay.
No,
if you are
worse.
Well, I was gonna say if you are like the punishment is like 5 years in prison. And personally, I would give 5 years in prison to not go to war.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Good luck finding me, bitches. Yeah. No, forcing going to road. No, you cut off in my ear, so I didn't mean
Oh,
to
sorry.
like.
No,
I didn't mean to like interrupt. Yeah. So my point was like, people are so brainwashed in thinking. So the army goes to school to be like, hey, you should join the army because it's cool. And so just like religion, sorry guys, it's taught at such a young age as like it's manipulative. They're not taught that there's other things, right?
Mhm.
The best thing you can do for your country is go to war.
To serve.
And then there's also child soldiers.
Mhm.
So do those people deserve to die because they're in the army?
Do I think 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds deserve to die in the army? Of course not. Do I think 30-year-olds in the army deserve to die? Well, I'm saying your job is literally to die. Like if you haven't figured that out yet, then that's on you. Especially nowadays because we live in a world of knowledge. You go on TikTok for 5
That's what I was
minutes.
gonna say. There's
Like-
education out there. If you search for it, it's there.
I follow so many ex-veterans who joined when they were 19, right? And then by 25, they realized they're like, what the things I was told to do were
Yeah.
awful. Like, like if you're in the US, sorry, I only know US stats for this, but it's like a lot of the times it's like you kill a civilian, you pay the family like a couple $100 US. And that's
That's
just the
nothing.
price of the body. You
Yeah.
know, and it's just like if you can do that and not feel like you're on the wrong side of things, then you probably deserve to be there.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And like obviously I don't blame children. A lot of countries use child soldiers. I think the US, even though they start at 18, they start recruiting around 16. They just
Yeah,
the
they
high
do, and they
school,
have military school, military training.
Yeah.
It's called what's it called? West
That
Point?
well, even they do it here, cadets and all that
Yeah.
stuff is kind
Yeah,
of
I
getting
was
you
thinking it.
prepared.
Yeah.
Right? And so like that's child soldiers too.
It is. It's manipulation. It's like church, going to church every Sunday.
Yeah.
If you don't do what you're supposed to, you're going to burn in hell. And a lot of the army has religion attached to it. A lot of like,
Yes.
you're doing for God and country. So
Yeah.
like
My
there's so
stepdad
much
went to
manipulation.
Afghanistan, okay? My stepdad went to my mom's second husband, father of my brothers. Longest stepdad I had. He I don't know how else to word this. He went like to like he was he not drafted, but he went across with Canada, the Canadian Army and stuff like that. I don't know the whole story, but I believe he was like diagnosed bipolar and stuff like that and ended up leaving. Then in his 40s, he got diagnosed with lung cancer. Easily traced back to when he was deployed. He passed away a couple years ago. He was like 47, 46. He left behind 3 kids and me, but I didn't count once he wasn't married. But so he and all because he joined the war. And from what I learned, one of my brothers, one of his kids joined because he didn't know what to do and his dad did it, so might as well. And I'm just like, how can you watch someone die
And still
doing
wanna do
something
it.
like that and then still feel like that's part of it? And it's really hard because I lived on a base in Alberta for a bit, and like all of us army kids went to one school.
Yeah, it's such a close community too. Like army life, everybody like you feel like you owe them something. Like
Oh my
it's
God.
just-
Okay. No, I don't mean to cut you off.
Oh no,
Have you
fine,
watched?
got something. Say something.
Have you watched those TikToks with the wives of army or cops? Like,
Cops,
they
cops.
believe that they are part of the force or they are part of the military. And I'm like, you guys are fucking crazy. They're just like, yeah, we fight for them too. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed.
Well, I
because
feel like
that's
part
what
of
they're
the
taught.
yeah, I was gonna say part of that's even generational trauma because from like the past World War, because that's what happened. Like all these wives ended up having to get jobs.
Yeah.
ended up having, like, for the first time in, like, women's history, women had no work and run the country because
Because
all
we
these
weren't
men
allowed.
Yeah, we weren't allowed because all these men went off to war, and, like, that's I mean, that was, like, the downfall of history, right? Because all these men ended up coming back, and then women were like, but I kinda liked having my own money."
Stuff. I like being my own person. I didn't like
Wow.
being
I like to have a
property.
bed to myself, you know? Like, I
Yeah.
liked the less of the laundry I had to do. I liked...
Like, it's just yeah. So, like, I'm always anti-war, I understand conflicts can happen, but goddamn, we're adults. If you can't run a country without starting a war, you're too immature to run a country.
It's always men.
It's always
It's always men.
Did you see that
Always.
that one woman that's getting interviewed by, like, The Daily Show or whatever, and, he's like, can a woman run a country?" And she's like, "No, because when she goes on her period, she'll start a world war like that." And the guy's like, "But haven't all wars been started by men?" And then she's just like, "Yeah, that's true."
Like, women are our worst enemies. But, like, again, it's learned information from men. They just are like, no, women can't do these things. But women have been doing these things. Like, it's just
They thought,
Finland.
like, women couldn't
like a-
ride on trains because our uterus would fall out because of the high speed, like, they're not very smart in women's functioning.
It's like, yeah, we've been property for so long, and not functional property. We were just there. There's zero knowledge on how we're supposed to work. And even now we go to the doctors, nobody knows what's happening.
No.
Like, that's if you're a man though.
But it
Yeah,
all has to do
you're
with the uterus. Whatever health condition you have, it's because either you're bleeding or you had something put in there. Like, it's
Or it's
all about the uterus.
hormones.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I
Hormones.
don't tell when I'm on, like, I do not
It's whatever's
tell
coming
them.
in or coming out of your vagina. That's what your health issue is.
Yeah. Whenever I'm asked that, I'm like, that's not your business. Always. And they're like, oh, we need to know. I'm like, no, you don't. Like, would you ask a man this question? No. Like, unless I think I'm pregnant or I'm getting an x-ray, that's the only time you should be asking when was my last period.
Yes.
No time before.
And I
That's
highly
it.
recommend everyone take that advice, especially in the US where Roe v. Wade was overturned. Your doctors can be subpoenaed for your health information. So please don't give them information about when your last period was. And in Canada, well, as we see from this petition, they are very anti-Planned Parenthood, which I don't even think is there Planned Parenthood in Canada?
No, we
So,
just
like,
get
why
it for free.
Why? Like, that's what I was like, mine was done at, like, a secret ward in a hospital. Like, what are you
Yeah.
talking
There's
about?
doctors' offices. Like, you can just go to a
Clinics.
doctor.
There's women clinics. Like, yeah.
Yeah. So
And
it's
then-
like,
Yeah.
I just, yeah. So it just,
We still
this
are
petition.
behind in uterus health because you can't, like, I have PCOS and I have issues all the time, and I'm almost 40. And about like 6 years ago, I stopped asking. Like,
Yeah.
I've just lived with it now. Like, that's my life. Because they say, no, you might want more kids. Are you fucking kidding? My kids are broken. I am not reproducing. I'm broken. I shouldn't have reproduced to begin with. Like, it's
When Chris got his vasectomy, like, I went to the appointment and I talked to the doctor just so that I could feel powerful. But I know the doctor didn't need me there.
no.
Chris gave that to me, though. He let me have that. He was like,
Yeah.
yeah. And I was like, is there anywhere nearby? He really wants this specific clinic. Do you think? I'm just like, let me feel like I'm controlling your testicles, please.
Yeah, they're nothing. Yeah, Kyle was able just to, like, make an appointment. 0 questions. He just said, I'm 26 and I'm done having kids. That was it. Hello?
Hello?
Sorry. Okay, it's just Chris.
You have ghosts?
I was like, I heard lyrics screaming, but it's
Oh,
because Chris
no.
is taking her tablets. Okay. I was like, oh my God. Okay. Edit it.
He's parenting. That's what's happening. And she's like, no.
Oh,
Don't
Lyric
parent
does this
me.
new thing where she's like, 10 more minutes?
Aw.
It's always 10 more minutes, so we just kind of go, and then we're like, whenever we go up and get her, like, no concept of time. We're like, it's been like 30 minutes, whatever. 10 more minutes, all done. But she has like 10 more minutes, and she'll do this new thing where she's like, 3 more minutes.
Oh my God.
She's
The counting
negotiating.
down. Yeah, that's so good though.
Yeah.
That's such a good skill to have.
She's trying to do compromising. It's good.
I'll
It's
take a
good.
video next time I put her to bed because it's so funny.
That's so
But-
sweet.
What were we talking about that I was going to talk about?
So many things.
Okay,
But
here.
like
I do want to talk about the agenda a little bit because
yeah.
my favorite part about the UN is how it measures things. Okay. It's my favorite part. It's my favorite part. So we already talked about those that have veto power. US, UK, France, Russia, and China. Okay, so let's think about the economy of all those. Now let's think about how the UN measures extreme poverty.
Mm.
Do you know? So they want to eradicate extreme poverty by 2030. What do you think is the amount they measure as extreme poverty?
30,000.
Lower.
15.
Lower.
Oh my God.
10.
$1.25 a day.
So that's not actual countries on like side or anything like that. That's
That's their current. They written in their goal to end poverty in all its forms everywhere. By 2030, they want to eradicate extreme poverty for all people everywhere, currently measured as people living on less than $1.25 a day. Now, I think that $1.25 might be by U.S. standards. Like it's a US $1.25 maybe. Which would make it a high $20.25 everywhere except in US.
I just need to pause. Edit it out. Just a second. I have drunk so much liquid. I need to pee my pants.
Okay.
Go.
Yeah, poo party.
Hello? Hi.
Hello.
So I drank so much sangria before we started, and then I'm almost done my drink now. Yeah. And it's been an hour. I had to break the seal.
This has like a lot of vodka in it. Like it was bad. So I can only have 1 cup like a day. That's it.
How many did you make?
I need 9.
Shit.
But it has 3 cups of vodka in all 9 of these little cups. Like
That's really good.
it's a lot of vodka. each layer of the Jell-O had 1 cup of vodka. So there's 3 layers. So it's 3 cups of vodka.
That's it's good.
It's a lot.
It's a good amount though. Like that's
Yeah.
I like accidentally closed the tab I wanted open, and oh my god, I'm like I have the alcohol reds, you know, when you like start to
Yeah, where you get flushed, but
yeah.
red. Yeah. It's fucking hot here. It's like 21 degrees. It's fucking
It's
summer
hot.
again.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna have to like pee again. Oh my gosh. It's fine. It's fine. Everything's fine.
Oh, I'm hot.
Yeah, it's the alcohol, man. I'm like, oh, whoo.
I'm sweating. I think my makeup's melting off.
I know. That's why. Sorry, 1 second.
Yeah.
I know. Sorry, Lyric was being violent, getting a bum change.
Oh.
So I had to go help.
Yeah, I hear that. It's fine.
Where does my hair go? Okay.
You're like, what's happening?
Oh my god. Okay. Okay, what were we talking about? The
You
UN.
said
Yeah.
the no poverty
agenda.
one. Goal 1, no poverty.
And poverty in all its forms, which technically you can't do under capitalism because capitalism requires a working class that is poor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of
Doesn't make sense.
it. Like on like it's like, and then if you can talk about social democracies, which always end up turning into capitalism. That's what's happening in Canada right now. That's what's happening in the UK right now. You know, the public healthcare, public housing is starting to get overrode by the private sector as the private sector gets richer, which always happens in social democracies that believe in capitalism. So,
Yeah. That like all of the 16 goals are hindered by capitalism. So like
Yes.
no poverty, capitalism, zero hunger, capitalism, good health and well-being, capitalism, quality education, capitalism, only private schools get the quality education, gender equality, capitalism. Clean water and sanitation,
Capitalism.
affordable and clean energy,
Capitalism.
decent work and economic growth,
Wait for it. Capitalism.
industry innovation and infrastructure,
Capitalism. It does not breed innovation. It breeds 500 million of the same iPhone.
reduced inequalities,
Capitalism.
sustainable cities and communities,
Capitalism.
responsible consumption and production, that's capitalism, climate action. The reason the top polluters are factories that make shit. Like that.
Yes.
It's not the individual person. And that means the life below water and the life on land are affected by the climate action. And then we got peace, justice, and strong institutions.
Capitalism.
Yeah. So that's
If you
the
guessed
60
capitalism,
goals.
you would be correct.
Yeah.
Exactly. Which is why I just wanted to bring up, because I knew this stat prior to reading this, just because this is, if you read any United Nations statistic regarding poverty, this is how it is measured. So like a lot of pro-US people, pro-capitalism people actually will be like, oh, capitalism helped eradicate world poverty, because you'll look at world poverty levels, when most of the time, if you get rid of China's contribution to that, it actually goes down. Like, poverty is worse than before.
Mhm.
China happened to bring poverty up so high that even though capitalism was bringing poverty to like lowest depths, it still brought it up. Now, it's not to say capitalism or China's a great country, because it's
No.
China. But it's to say that you can't, like, when you're comparing like a lot of these countries together that have the same veto powers in the UN, you find that, you know, some things, if they're very free market, doesn't really work out well for them. But I just wanted to point out that, yeah, by 2030, they want to eradicate extreme poverty for all people everywhere, currently measured as people living on less than $1.25 a day. Now, in most first world countries, you cannot live. Like, homeless people are making more money than that.
Like there's really almost no countries. It's mostly the countries that don't have a strong, like,
The ones
people
that have already
supporting
been
them.
looted by the first world countries.
Exactly. The ones who are already struggling and are at the bottom.
Have already been dealing with all the coups by the gas companies paid by the US. Yeah.
I gotta say, one good thing about this, like, in theory, I love all of it, but one good thing is Canada's, on the Canadian website, it is really like, there's not really any jargon, like, and it has like little pictures and stuff. It's easy to read. That's what I like about it. But besides that, no.
So, like, Canada picked and chose the parts of the Agenda 30 that they wanted, like, but they still haven't implemented it. Like, universal, what's it called? The universal benefit, where everyone gets it.
Basic income.
Yeah,
they're still voting on that.
Yeah, but that's part of Agenda 2030.
Yeah.
They want that, but they still haven't implemented it or whatever. 15-minute cities. Oh my God, the conservatives think this is like the worst thing ever, but it's actually good.
Okay, I was just in London, UK, specifically Shoreditch neighborhood for most of it. And you just walk. Like, driving seems so dangerous there. Like, you just walk everywhere. And there's so much signage and so much going on. It's like built for walking and biking. And it was just amazing.
Right.
And like, then I come back here and I'm like, I can't even get to Walmart.
Right.
Yeah. You know, like, we built this entire continent of North America around cars.
Yeah.
Before we had cars, we built it around cars.
Right? We found a way. Like, so many of these streets in London are like diagonal or offshoots because the buildings were there first.
Yeah.
But then here it's like 16 length highways and shit.
To connect like, one to A to B, yeah. And then you gotta fill it. And like, so part of Agenda 2030 is that they want to preserve and keep 50% of the land uninhabited. We're like just wilderness, right? And they want it all connected, like from the tippy top of the Northwest Territories all the way down to like southern Mexico. They want it all connected and like kind of like our green belt, but obviously larger. And then they want 15-minute cities.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
And like they want to cut emissions like that. And I'm for it. Like, I'm just like that's like amazing. I don't drive, so that's why I like it.
Yeah. So in theory, if this was done worldwide, it's amazing. But they're gearing it to the countries that are struggling the most. So because the UN people who are like doing this, they're powerhouses, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like manipulation, kind of like very colonizing. I want to like
Very colonizing.
very colonizing. So we're going to be their saviors. So this isn't happening here. It should
But they
be,
based a lot of it about here.
but they haven't been implementing. They're trying to implement on other countries. So I understand a little bit. So the petition is kind of like, oh, they're like, but they don't say it that way. They don't say it's like manipulating countries that are struggling. Like there's like a power dynamic there. The petition words it different, where it's they just word it that like, oh, like Canada.
It's gonna affect our healthcare and our education.
It has nothing to do with the manipulation of other countries, like our stance, our values on other countries. It's mostly, oh, they're gonna like do that to our kids. They're gonna do that to us. Which, again, it's always a choice. But I am worried it's not a choice to these other countries because, if you're starving and all you're being offered is a moldy hamburger, you're going to eat that moldy hamburger because that's your only choice, like, or you'll die. That's it. So I feel like, again, it's manipulation, very colonizing.
Especially because it's countries like the US where like they just had another mass shooting in Maine.
Yes,
but they have a mass shooting nearly every day
over here. Yeah,
nearly every day they have a shooting, like a mass shooting. It doesn't always make the news. They have people starving to death. They have people that can't afford housing. They have people that can't get health care. They have children starving to death. They have one of the highest rates of infant mortality and maternal mortality rates, especially in women of color, out of all of the top countries. They have some of the lowest literacy rates, et cetera, and that's the US. And I would argue that the US is a third world country.
It's just packaged nicely.
Yeah. It's a third world country with a nice coating.
So did you see the TikTok where they said that they're sending $100 billion to the wars and whatever, right? And someone did the math of what $100 billion could do for the United States. It would solve education. Everyone would have post-secondary education. It would solve so much of the hunger in the United States. And it would solve so much of the healthcare problems. Like, it would actually have a fundamental, like, system going, kind of like how Canada has like universal healthcare. They'd have something similar.
Ours is doing so good.
Yeah, no, ours is being privatized. And for those listening, make sure to tune into the Tipsy All the Way second annual 16-hour live stream fundraiser on December 2nd, where we'll be raising money for various resources, including a healthcare agent, like a healthcare thing for epilepsy. That helps provide resources and stuff to those suffering from epilepsy, because guess what? Not funded by our provincial healthcare. So
we have a lot, like our causes are really like things that need more support.
Food, knowledge, and epislepsy care. All not funded.
Education, healthcare, and food.
Yeah, just the basic. The bar is on the floor. Like,
no, it's buried. It's not even on the floor anymore, Sonia. You have to dig to find it now.
I did want to say one thing about the UN, and it's just the fact that it was established to prevent future wars. Yet the U.S. was allowed to have so many wars, and then now we're in a literal genocide, and the U.S. was like, you know what? People in Gaza do not need food, actually, and gas.
No, but we're going to give Israel money.
We're just going to veto that because we have that power. You know, like, we're just going to do that because we side with Israel. It's like, Thanks,
They've
guys.
given Israel since
That's
1940
because
whatever.
yeah,
They've given
white
Israel
colonizers.
$286 billion towards the IDF.
Okay, Jim Crow Joe Biden, back in this Jim Crow era, back in the 80s, he said, and I quote, "Israel is an investment." So good for them.
We
Did
knew
you
where he
know?
was going to stand.
Was it Honduras was almost Israel? Because the Zionists had a couple choices in between what was gonna be Israel, and so everyone that thinks like that's their land, it's like no, they made it up. They
They
made
did.
it up for
Yes.
you guys.
It's another white colonizer, Jewish people. I'm not trying
Zionist.
to
It's
like.
Zionist.
I'm not
Zionist.
trying to
It's not
say
Jew-
bad about
it's
your
Zionist.
religion.
Yeah, no,
Don't
you
wanna
can't
say
be
bad.
anti-Semitic. It's not a Jewish thing.
No, but I mean like just like Christian white people kicked out people of color of all their country. So like it's just the white people of a certain religion took over a country. So then the white people that took over another country was like, hey, that's cool. Let's back each other up.
Colonists always stick together.
Yes, that is what happened. And
Yeah.
it's not good. And so this war has been going on for a long time because the people want their land back.
But it
Like
it wasn't their land to begin with. Like
it's really bad because a long time ago, conquering nations, it's really shitty. But we are products of nations being conquered, right?
Yeah.
And it's shitty.
I'd be fine with not existing, actually. Like
Yeah,
if that was a choice.
now that I exist, I don't want to not exist, right? Like I don't want to be bombed.
It's just me.
I'm like, I don't want like I would love to share what I have with everybody I can, and that includes Indigenous people. But like, I don't want it to be like, hey, you took our land, give me back this land and your chickens and your trees, right? Like that's, it's a really
I feel
shitty
like there's
situation.
a middle ground in that.
Yeah.
What Israel is doing
It's
is
not a middle ground.
there's no
No.
middle ground, no justice, no peace. There is no middle ground in this. This is a genocide. This is
It's got to the point now where they're just trying to wipe out an entire country.
which
Yeah.
they've been trying. It's hard to kill a lot of people. Like even when the U.S. did its massive genocidal bombings, it still would only kill like 250,000 people total. Like it's really hard to kill a lot of these people, like these large amounts of people. People, like it takes a long time.
But unfortunately, it seems that they might be succeeding. Like
it's been taking
really
75
gross,
years.
yes.
They've been this slow process, but they're getting there. I just do want to say, just because it happened this morning, we are now out of contact with everyone in Gaza. They have
there's no internet.
phone. There's no internet. So I do. I assume I'm speaking for all of us that we are free Palestine.
Yeah.
So I just want to put that stance out there because I know there is a lot of people with way bigger audiences than us that aren't making a stance. Because I don't even care if you're pro-Israel, make that stance so I know not to support you. Like, thank
Right,
you.
like
They
that
don't want to. They're
make a
riding that
stance.
line. They're like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like the education's there. Pick a fucking side, man. Like,
This is pretty much your Germany moment. Think of
Yeah.
this like this is your Germany moment here. You're hearing about these concentration camps. You're hearing about what they did to all these people, and you have to make a choice. What choice are you making? And remember, if you cut a centrist, a Nazi bleeds. Because that's what you are if you don't take a stance. Sorry.
Yeah,
Opinionated.
if you're like opinionated lushes, yeah. So like if you're not speaking out against genocide and Nazis, like you're for them. Like
Yeah.
that's pretty much how it is. This isn't
if
like
you're not against it, you're for it.
it's not a gray situation. Like there is
No.
parts of it that are gray, but this situation where there is a country being slaughtered, and again cut off from society. Even the Ukraine has still access to the outside world. Like,
Yeah.
this is a pocket full of mice just scurrying, trying to get cheese and live for their life. Like, they're treated
They don't
worse
even
than
have
animals.
water. They
Yeah.
don't have.
If you control
water.
their water and electricity, maybe it's not a fair war.
Exactly.
Like, maybe it's not two-sided
Yeah.
there. You know, if you're fighting Gaza, but yet people like Palestinians in West Bank are still dying, where there's no Hamas, maybe it's not about Hamas. You know, like,
Yeah.
it's just, there's so much. I feel like there's no gray area. There's just nuance.
Yeah.
Like, and the nuance is to understanding that there's no gray area.
Yeah.
Like,
So,
you
like,
know.
so here's the thing. If you are certain that you have no education behind it and you don't know where to stand or whatever, listen, learn. If you don't feel like you can articulate a good argument about it, then repost other people who are giving that information. There's different ways that you can show your support. You don't have to exactly speak it, but show where you stand. You don't have to do it like physically, but you can reshare, repost. Like, there's so much information out there. Just listen. That's all you have to do.
Yeah, I personally don't think people who don't understand should just regurgitate information. Like, if you're like, my uncle is for, we'll say, Israel, and you're like, okay, well, I believe him because he seems like a smart man. Like,
Yeah, no,
if you're
don't.
just
No, you have
if
to
you're
listen to
just
both
side-
sides and figure out where you stand. And
Yeah,
then
but a lot
Listen
of
to
people-
Palestinians too.
yes, but
Yeah.
a lot of people, so it sounds like an easy concept for people sometimes to just absorb information and able to like understand it. But for a lot of people, understanding information is not actually that easy. That's why we have leaders and stuff. They're, well,
Yeah.
I don't know, they're fucking idiots too. But the reason we have like leaders and stuff, because we've always been a people, like humans, they need somebody to look up to. A lot of humans cannot get their own information. A lot of humans can't understand their own information. Because, like, so if you think about the population and you think about how dumb people are, they're actually not
dumber than that.
They
Well,
are.
I always say that. Think of the average, like the average smarts of a
Yeah.
person. Remember, 50% are dumber than that. Part of that can be combated by education. Part of that used to be better. Education actually used to be better, more up to speed where we
We
were
are
at.
getting lower education. Like,
We are getting-
our IQs
yeah.
are getting lower. So the average is actually lower than it used to be.
Exactly.
Say like, so 140 is a genius. Before that used to be like rare, and like there was an average.
100
now-
was supposed to be the average. It was
now
like,
it's-
and then it went everywhere.
So the average is lowering. So you still hear 140 and stuff like that because it doesn't actually go higher than that. But like
Mhm.
the 100 now is more like 80. Like
Yeah.
before it was like 80.
Mhm.
So like our average intelligence is lowering. Like in an age where information is so in your face, like you should be getting smarter,
Mhm.
but people don't have the ability to like kind of like box information on where it's supposed to go. So like, yeah, it's great to support people by sharing information, but at the same time, a lot of people, that's my opinion, everyone's allowed their own opinion. A lot of people don't understand information, so I don't think you should just be sharing your stance because somebody, Uncle Bob, shared his stance. Like that.
Well, this is why Facebook is such a problem, because you tend to trust people in your life. And when people in
Yeah.
your life that you trust are sharing this information, you trust that they looked into it. And that's where a lot of this misinformation tends to like go. I feel like you know, obviously it should be a personal responsibility to always make sure you have the best, most up-to-date information. Like, I feel like that's something we all have. We tend to like double check and fact check to make sure
Yeah.
we are we're correct in what we're talking
What's
about.
crazy is we're smart people. Like, which scares me, by the way. I just want to point that out there. Like, whenever I like am talking to people, this sounds so condescending, but I do realize that I am able to process information more effectively than a lot of other people. And I always thought I was really dumb. Growing up, I just thought I was dumb. But then Kyle is a fucking genius. Anybody who knows that, he's actually like one of those super stupid smart people. And he's like, we can keep a conversation. You're not like, you're actually one of the smart people. I was like, no, that's impossible. I cannot be a smart person. Like, that's not. But then I look into it. I'm like, you know what? The way I process information, I do catch on quick. I do research. I like statistics, all these other things. And I'm like, okay, maybe. Sure, I can't add very fast, but there's different types of smarts. But people, I'm just like, I can't fathom how smart I am compared to a lot of my peers. Because I can retain a lot of information. I can learn a lot of things. I can grasp things. And a lot of people can't.
It's true.
It's
A lot of
frustrating.
people do rely on their like close relatives and friends for their information. That's true.
But that's human nature.
Yeah. No, but like I personally don't like. Well, first of all, my family's no longer around, so I don't have to like listen to them. But like information that I have received from like, let's say my mother from like 20 some odd years is not the correct information today. And I can say that, and I idolized that woman, okay? There was a lot of things she said that was correct, but there is still things that she said that wasn't. And I can separate the two. I can separate my love for her and know when she was wrong. Yeah. I don't have to listen to every single word she ever said and believe on it and hang on it just because she was my mother. So I feel like that's a cop-out in a sense, but I understand at the same time because I see women listen to their husbands all the time.
Right? Your husband's an idiot. Yeah.
Okay. Being smart doesn't mean knowing the information. It means either A, being able to find the correct information, and B, knowing when to change your mind because you have received new information. That is smart. Like that is what smart is. You know, smart isn't I can know all these facts. Like that's not what smart is. Smart is the ability to learn and the ability to understand and adapt.
Exactly. Because I always say smarts has nothing to do with like your math skills or anything like that. It is adaptability. And like doctors are just people who have failed upwards. I have had to explain.
It's because they learn something they don't have to adapt anymore. It's whatever they learn and they stick to it. And that's what's bullshit.
So I go to the hospital. I have like, again, we talk about that I'm fucking broken. And they will take my oxygen on a little thingamajiggy. You know, you get your little thing. They're like, your oxygen's fantastic. I'm like, I can't breathe. I was like, you need to check my CO2 levels in my blood. They're like, no, we don't. I'm like, yes, you do. Like, you got to. Like, this is my life. I know it. And then they do. And they're like, oh shit, you're only at 70%. You know, like, so then they're like, okay, let's see what's going on. And then it's always something with my lungs because secondhand smoke. So it's just, they are people who failed upwards. And people are like, oh, they're like, doctors are so smart. Doctors are so smart. Like, I'm assuming some of them have to be because like not everyone's dying when they go see the doctor. A lot are still. But
100%.
A lot are.
Like, don't ever research the history of medicine. Okay, so like I recommend whenever people are coming to, like we were just talking about, dumb people trying to understand Israel and Palestine outside the media propaganda that is all pro-Palestine because that's where the money comes from. Or sorry, pro-Israel. That's where the money comes from. I always say check the history.
Yep.
Learn the history because that's usually where the answers are. But when it comes to doctors, if you're gonna learn the history, be prepared because Sonia, we've talked about the hard and soft science debate.
Yeah, the crunchy taco.
Yeah, okay. Well, someone did a study and they realized that a lot of hard sciences were considered hard sciences when men could enter them. The minute women were allowed to, it was considered a soft science. So a lot of sociologists, psychologists, etc., when they were men, it was considered a hard science. Sigmund Freud was considered a hard scientist.
Yeah.
And then women joined, and they're like, "Oh, this is a soft science now." That's one reason economics is considered like a hard science, even though it's considered a social science.
That's
which is
because our
considered
brains are like the way our brains work. I love that. Yeah. So it's so funny. I'm sorry, I interrupt you because this made me so
Go
excited. Because the way our brains work, women more understand and intelligent wise can grasp the soft sciences better than men, and men can grasp the hard sciences better.
I think that's a myth. That's
You think
completely
it's
a myth. Yeah,
Oh,
because
yeah, it's a myth.
all these soft sciences were developed by men, and they were considered hard sciences at the time when they were developed by men. Women were actually allowed to be doctors up until like the 1800s, and then they were banned.
Well,
And
no,
then
I mean
they
like
had to work for another 100 years to be able to be allowed to be
yeah,
doctors again.
yes,
So it was
yes.
like, so it's like a lot of like the psychology and stuff like that, the fathers of psychology and stuff like that. It was developed by men. It was only
yeah.
considered a soft science once women joined. So
Well,
the soft science debate is only because women joined, because economics is actually very entwined with sociology. It's
but
very
it's math,
entwined, but it's not. So
right?
sociology is math. It's all
But it's
statistics.
a different type because it's emotional.
It's
So women
it's not.
understand
It's not
emotional
emotional.
more. So
It's
you
not
will have
emotional.
men that understand, and then you'll have women who are really good in the other. But like there, yeah, you see like women are able to. Well, it is men have
All
been
the
learned to
theories
hide
you
these
learn in
things. Yeah, but
psychology were developed by men.
yeah, but
You know,
like it's
Maslow's hierarchy of needs, all that stuff is all developed by men. The idea that it
but these
was
are
a
now
soft
women
science,
dominated fields.
yeah, but that's because they're considered soft science because they're women dominated. They're not soft science because women dominate them.
No, it's
You know what I
just
mean?
their names are stupid. There's no need to have those names. I'm just
They're all
saying
hard
there's different
sciences.
sciences.
They all
Everything's hard
developed it the
science.
same way. Like that.
Yes.
And my whole point was just
I
like,
think we're not going to agree on that. I think you're just like I think it's the words is like you're stuck on that. Like I said, I don't think we're going to agree on that. We're just going to go
well,
back
I
and
was just
forth.
saying, like the science is the same as economics. It literally is the same. Like the free market idea is a myth. It's a theory that doesn't exist in practice. That's developed via. So if you take macroeconomics, it's developed via the same statistics as sociology. So it's the same, but it's only considered a hard science because men do it more. If more women become economics, it's going to become a social science. Well, it already is a social science. It's going to become a soft science in the social science. It's the same with anthropology. It's considered a soft science now only because more women are doing it. But when more men were searching dinosaurs, it was a hard science.
Yes. So like that soft sciences are more less touchy. Except for astronomy is considered like it's
it's all female to male.
There shouldn't be the names.
It's all science.
It is.
The soft hard
patriarchy.
science is a patriarchy concept.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's all it is. Science, like social working. Tons of men do great jobs at social working, but women are just better. Like it's just like there's different types. Like,
but then you can go into social working and how they worked a lot with cops and how they were colonizers. So it's really just how you look at it, right?
Yeah. So this is just something we're like gonna go in circles. Yeah. Yeah. Again, we don't have to agree on everything.
No.
Like,
but I'm just saying from like the structure of it, it's like men created these, but the minute women became those, it became soft, you know? Like that.
Yeah, I just see it as
developed as a patriarchal structure.
Yes,
it's all science. It's all different types of science.
Is better at a certain sciences, and I'm better at other certain sciences.
Yeah, exactly.
And together, we're the soft, crunchy taco, and the stuff I'm better at is considered soft science because it's emotional and knowledge. But his is like, what is my brain isn't working now. Fantastic, but his is like the math sciences. The physics, stuff like that. So there's two different types of the science going on, but they do intertwine. They weave together.
Yeah, I think it's just all very niche because like a lot of sociological and psychological studies were, hard. The Stanford prison experiment, like those were considered hard science experiments, right? Yeah. But that's because they were done by men. So it's like, I think that was a very emotional study, but because it's done by men, they're like, it's real statistics. Well, men fight each other over pretend and then act like it's science.
It's just funny that they were just ridiculous. Like, you don't have to be like that. If you put women in the room together, they're not going to act like that.
They've done that study and they don't act like that.
I know. That's what I mean. Like, women are better at emotional things.
We're just
Men
better
are
at
so fucking
society.
emotional. That's
Yeah,
what it
men
is.
are
Anything
emotional.
society, women are better because I think that's up until recently, that's how we've been raised. Women take care of the house, women take care of others. Men, they fuck off and do whatever they want. But like, it's just now, I think in the next few generations, we're going to see a change of men and women. Like, men will get to be more emotional. Men can be the soft sciences. Men can think before they act. Like, I think, like, hopefully.
That's high hopes, man. That's high hopes.
I don't know. We
know.
gotta fight climate change first, or else
That's
we're not even
right,
gonna get a
yeah.
chance.
Fuck, there is no anything in these 16 goals that say men should be allowed to cry. Oh, there's women rights. Women have the right to like be known as real people, but nothing about
But
Holy
men.
shit.
Gonna
That's
veto
new.
that. Like, no, not allowed.
But yeah, it's always been women equality, never like men emotional equality. It's always like men still get to be assholes. That's the only thing.
I like I understand the whole like men had to be like tough, have that persona type thing, but there was also like a lot of like gay or feminized men in media for decades, for like the last since Shakespeare,
But you don't
'cause
hear about it. That's what the issue is that like they've always been hidden.
the Shakespeare wasn't hidden. like the boys
Yeah,
had
if
to
you learn
play
about
men,
him,
or
yeah.
like they had to play all the female roles.
But
And
you
then
learn
that,
about them in school, and it's never anything about those like the concept of actual
Queen. You never heard of Queen? I've never.
it's never, they never focus on that. It's always been like he's a great writer and like always focuses on like the gender. Sure, men. It was always done by men. Men are great. Men. It's never been like men get to be women or men get to be gay, men get to be emotional. It's always been like, see, we are taking over the world. Like, it's like, even though you learn about Shakespeare and the fact that he always did,
Yeah, but I'm saying like
non-binary,
bands
like,
now, like Queen, what's the other guy from Labyrinth?
Bowie.
Even Nirvana. Kurt Cobain used to wear dresses all the time.
But you have to be a rock star. You can't just be some average
No.
guy.
That's what I was gonna say. I was like,
Yeah.
they had prominent figures. It just never translated, which again is why like the male suicide rate is so high.
Yeah.
And now we're entering the Great Divorce. So that's a period of time where right now we're having the highest rates of divorce in North America.
And non-marriages. People aren't getting married anymore.
Yeah.
They're not
Not
having
having children.
Yeah.
The
Just go, like,
great
fuck
male loneliness because they can't
Yeah.
just buy us anymore. Like, they're trying. They're going to other countries. They're trying. But
They had to
I wonder
bring
if
in
the
the
UN,
migrant
prevent
the UN should
divorce
put
now,
something
too.
in about that, about passport bros.
I don't know why that's not in there. Maybe it's under gender equality. I don't know. It's not there.
We're like, no passport bros.
Nothing on there.
I feel
No.
like we should maybe end this here and then do a part 2 next week.
Yeah, I
we
think
still
we're gonna
have
do part
so
2.
much to touch on.
I was just
and-
like, oh no.
There's just so much because it's such like a wide topic.
There's 16 parts to it, so yeah, it's a wide topic.
Well, it's a wide topic. It's like I said, I mean, you were focusing on specific parts of that, and I was just focusing on the UN as a whole. And Sonia had this whole structure that we didn't even get to because we kept going on fucking tangents.
That's her whole thing.
Soft tacos.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so we'll end it here, and be prepared for part 2 next week.
If we
where
remember.
Yeah, I will write it down. I'm sure I'm gonna be like, I still got things to talk about the UN. We barely touched on this topic. What
We
are you
didn't touch the
talking
UN at all. Yeah, we missed a lot.
So we will have a part 2 next week. Hopefully we can figure out Dawn's sound issue because StreamYard hates her now all of a sudden. No idea.
Next week
StreamYard,
she'll
be
be
nice
me,
to
I'm
me.
sure.
I do want to thank Stephanie Hurst again for being our VIP patron and also donating a signed copy of her book to our live stream on December 2nd from 10 a.m. to 2 a.m. Our 16-hour Tipsy All the Way live fundraising live stream where we'll be giving away prizes and accepting donations for our 3 causes this year. Yeah. And keep an eye on all our socials because we're gonna have a giveaway soon if it's not already up, and just lots of stuff going on. Yeah, just follow all of our stuff because we have a lot going on.
So much shit. So much shit.
All the
And
stuff.
So much.
I just want to ask Stephanie, since the last time she was on, she let us know that she talks to us and we don't talk back. Did you feel left out this time? Like,
I'm
Were you
so
in the
sorry,
conversation?
Stephanie. Stephanie, what is your position on this?
oh,
We love
yeah.
you, Stephanie.
Love you. Anyways, everyone have a good night.
Have a
Good night, guys.